Hi everyone, this is Laura Susan Johnson back from my long hiatus. I haven't done a video since March. I am gonna try to make up for my lack of videos during June, which is Pride Month. And today I'm gonna be doing my favorite, what I would consider transgendered movie. About a woman of transgendered experience is what we prefer to say, I guess, nowadays. This is called Breakfast on Pluto. It's from 2005. I presume it was released in Ireland and the UK. It stars Cillian Murphy in the lead role. Also starring Liam Neeson, Eva Birthwhistle, Connor McEvoy, newcomer, Ruth McCabe, Seamus Riley, Pat McCabe, who is also the author of the book that this is based on, Ruth Negga, who is also finally getting her dues, finally getting recognized after many years. She's been in a lot of stuff, especially Irish stuff. I think she was recently in a movie called Loving. Also starring Lawrence Kinlan, Liam Cunningham, and let's see, Gavin Friday, I love him. Ooh, Maurice Caesar was in this too. Gavin Friday and Maurice Caesar did the music for Disco Pigs, which I reviewed last year. Eamon Owens. Probably didn't pronounce that right. I know there's other... Oh, Brendan Gleeson, of course. I love him. Brian Ferry. Neil Jackson. Is it the same Neil Jackson I'm familiar with? Maybe. Ian Hart. Stephen Waddington. And a whole lot of other people. Okay. Alright, on to the review. Let's see here. Where do we start? Well, this is my favorite Cillian Murphy movie. Disco Pigs comes in at a very close second. They are completely different movies from each other. It's hard to believe. I choose a lot of actors who do roles that are like chameleon, and somebody who's so distinct looking, and especially somebody who's so attractive physically like Cillian Murphy. It's hard to imagine somebody like him being able to pull off being able to be so versatile, but he is. He's very versatile. And roles like, I don't know, different roles he's done recently, being able to kind of disambiguate from, being close to the audience to something like Pig from Disco Pigs, or Patty Braden from this movie I'm reviewing now, Breakfast on Pluto. It's very unique. I think it's very unique out of all 6 of the muses that I've been using for my books. So, Patty Braden is a foundling, kind of an orphan. One day, a young woman carrying a baby basket, or, a little baby carrier, she basically abandons this little baby infant boy on the doorsteps of a parish priest in Northern Ireland. Not the Northern Ireland that is part of the United Kingdom, mind you, but just County Cavan, which is the northernmost part of the Republic of Ireland, the one that's not part of the UK. And this priest takes the baby and asks a woman who I guess has had a habit of taking in children to adopt the baby, and he would pay, I guess monthly or weekly fees to help her raise the baby and care for it, feed, clothe it, whatever. And one day, after the child has gotten to be about, I would say, 10 years old, the mother and the sister, neither of who've ever shown him any affection, catch him dressing in the sister's dress and the mother's real fancy shoes, and they get very angry, and they know right away that this child wants to dress in women's clothing. And back in those times, that was a big no-no. This is not like today. This is definitely a period piece spanning from, I would say, the early 60s to the late 70s, perhaps. I'm not really sure exactly because they don't give you any years or anything. But the music is amazing. The costumery is amazing. A lot of bell-bottom flared pants and flowery shirts and awesome hairstyles, and really great stuff. And it's a fun movie. There's a lot of serious stuff in it. I think it's more fun than, and it gets compared to Forrest Gump for some reason. But Pathe Braden is a smart young woman, and she's an innocent like Forrest Gump, but she also is hyper aware of everything around her, and she uses her happiness and her refusal to let things get her down as a way to get through life. But it's not what I would call some kind of crappy coping mechanism, nor is it, like, well, she's just a simpleton like Forrest Gump. She's just, like, refuses to let life hurt her. Except when there are certain moments in the movie where it piles up on her and she will break down and cry. So, in one instance, she does have 3 close friends. As kids, they all play, like, Doctor Who games together, and Erwin Kerr, Charlie, whose last name escapes me, I'll get that later, and then Lawrence Feeney, who is a little boy with Down syndrome, along with Pathe. They're very accepting little kids. They're very good, close-knit, loving little kids, and Pathe loves Lawrence very much. He loves him. He's protective of him, and everybody loves Lawrence, and they're very protective of him too because of his disability, his Down syndrome. And Lawrence's parents love him and adore him very much. And as they grow up, Erwin Kerr, the one friend, he starts getting involved a little bit too in depth with the Irish troubles that are starting to flare up towards the north, farther up towards the north. And he's got a bunch of friends that are really vicious killers and have been for years. And they're so cold-blooded, and he's not quite that cold-blooded, and he just doesn't know what he's getting into. And even Pathe, the one that hates those kinds of slogans, "You're getting in too deep, this is really serious," he knows that Erwin is not he just doesn't Erwin doesn't realize what kind of trouble he's headed for. Now Erwin and Charlie have become girlfriend and boyfriend, so Charlie's angry. She's like, why don't you stay away from those people? You don't need them down, you don't need to be involved with them. He's like always threatening, if you don't want to be with me anymore, if you can't handle the way I'm handling my life, then just break up with me or something like that. He's just a really defiant jerk a lot of the time. And in the meantime, Lawrence is just innocent, has no idea what's going on. They face all kinds of prejudice. They try to get into a nightclub, and some of those bouncers are bastards. They deny Lawrence entry because he's, got Down syndrome. I guess that's just the way they did things back then. If they didn't like the way you looked or carried yourself, they didn't want you there. And then they told Pathe he couldn't get in because he was a man wearing makeup, or what appeared to be a man wearing makeup. And no, you can't come in either. And then they'd make all kinds of, homophobic or transphobic remarks. So anyway, Liam Cunningham has a brief, really fun role as a biker who talks about druids, and there's so many people that love Pathe for who he is and accept him for who he is right off the bat, and there's others that are just dickheads. And his stepmother's, his adoptive mother, Patty's adoptive mother, and his adoptive sister are just dickheads too. They've been so mean to him through the years that he doesn't have much nice to say to them. It's the way that these people treat the child that makes me understand why he doesn't say much nice to them. Pathe gets expelled from school, but before that, he writes a story about how he imagines he was conceived. He has his ideas about who his parents might be, especially after Lawrence's dad tells him a little story about a lady that looks like actress Mitzi Gaynor. And then one day he finds a letter, the mail comes, the post comes, and he uses a steam kettle to very gently open up one of the letters, and it's a money order or a check made out to his foster mother Braden, and signed the priest. And the priest is played, of course, by Liam Neeson. So he's kind of putting two and two together. Who's my dad? Who's my mom? It's a little more sketchy on who my mom is. I'm beginning to realize who my dad might be. So he goes to the confessional booth and he tries to get some information, but the priest won't talk to him about that. So he's frustrated and very angry and feeling a little bit adventurous about writing an essay in English class. He writes this very, very risque essay that gets him in a whole lot of hot water, but it was really fun. And then they have some kind of retreat at their church, which is, of course, Roman or Irish Catholic or something like that. And they ask the kids to please write down all your ideas and concerns or any kind of troubles you've been having. And Pathe writes down that she wants to have a sex change. And for some reason, I guess in those days, that was just such an outrageous and such a blasphemous idea in the eyes of these presbyters and parishioners that they kick her out of school. So she gets kicked out of school. Her stepmother beats her over the head and says, I've had it with you. This is the last straw. And he goes, well, fine, I'm leaving anyway. I don't want to be here another second. So Pathe grabs a suitcase full of clothing and she leaves. And she hitchhikes a ride with a very fun rock band. Kitten goes to see their show and she falls madly in love with Billy. And after the show ends, they're sitting in a coffee shop together and Billy asks Kitten, "Do you have a place to stay?" And she says, "Nope, I ran away from home. My mom threw me out." And he says maybe you could stay with us for a little while. And I think that's kind of where Kitten finds her first love. I don't think that Billy's quite as into it. Billy is kind of a closeted gay man, and his bandmates are not very approving, well, to say the least. As a matter of fact, when they're talking about a song by Bobby Goldsboro, and it's a song that Kitten really adores. It's called Honey. And the band is up in the window eavesdropping, and they're like, "Can you frickin' believe this?" And one of the other band members says, "What do you think happened to him when he disappeared in San Francisco? He's gay. He likes boys." So they're really, it was just not as tolerant as, I don't know if this was before Stonewall happened or after, but yeah, the band wasn't very likable, in my opinion. They were kind of mean. And lo and behold, it seemed like maybe the next day, or not very many days after, Kitten was sewing herself a beautiful glittery outfit or two and saying, "You guys need a squaw to sing with you." And it's like, I don't know if Billy was like in agreement of that or just kind of went along with it, but it was really cute to see Cillian Murphy. He has the most beautiful features, beautiful. He makes a prettier woman than most women, so it was so adorable seeing him decked out with the feather around his head, the band around his head, and the makeup and the glittery frock, and it was so cute. And him singing along with Dick Gavin Friday, and all the band, of course, were all pissed. You could see them; they're all like got makeup on themselves, and they're all just playing their instruments, but they just hate her. They were just like, "Oh my God, this is a Yoko Ono. She's gonna mess everything up." So it wasn't very successful. So after a few dates with that, and then there was this incident. I don't know if it was some kind of internment place, like British authority had them interred. They went to play there. They were authorized they could play there, but they were booed off the stage. And so after that happened, Billy said it wasn't going to work anymore. She couldn't be the squaw. So he took her to a caravan out in the country that his mom left to him in the will, and said, "You can live here and I'll come visit you now and then." But he's also, I guess Billy is also a helper of the IRA and helps them hide guns and stuff like that. And just another guy, just like Irwin, involved in the troubles. So really turbulent times. In the meantime, in their little town in Cavan County, there's a lot of suspicious activity going on. There's a big red van parked in the middle of town, and the police are trying to get everybody out of the way so they can maybe try to defuse the bomb, because they know there's a device inside the van. Looks like a panel wagon, not so much a van like what we'd have here in America. But it's really scary looking. And they thought everybody was out of the way, and here comes Lawrence with, the little boy with Down syndrome. It's a Dalek, because it's the bomb device was scooting towards the van to try to, work with the bomb. And he thought it was a Dalek. They were playing, Doctor Who or something. And suddenly there was this huge explosion. And that whole incident, Lawrence is killed. I think that Erwin Kerr's rage was totally inflamed after that, just against the people who sent that bomb down there. And then Ruth was in grief. And then last but not least, Pathe was just absolutely so sick to death of violence and bloodshed. And it was, how it was her way of, she couldn't escape that one. It was like she could escape most of the horrors around her, the beatings and the bullyings and the violence and on the news, but the death of Lawrence, this innocent little boy, she couldn't escape it. And so when she got back to her little caravan that Billy had given her, she threw all his guns into the pond that was, the cliffside pond that was next door to the little caravan. And when he found out about it, the shit hit the fan, and he said, I'm leaving because when these guys come looking for the guns, they're going to kill me and they're going to kill you. And she wouldn't leave. She just stayed there. She just wasn't, she didn't believe that they could be that horrible. And luckily, somehow when they did come looking for the guns and they found her there and they threatened to shoot her and bury her, they just figured, what's the point? I'm not sure why they figured that or if the gun didn't go off, but they let her live. And then after that, she decided to go to London. There was nothing left for her. Billy had left her. Lawrence was dead. She had, she had Charlie, but Charlie was kind of with Erwin, so she just kind of figured it was time to kind of strike out on her own and do something. And what she really wanted most was to find her mom. So when she goes to London to look for her mom, she encounters a lot of adventures. A lot of adventures. And some of them are fun, some of them are not fun. Let's just put it this way. The scariest scene in Breakfast on Pluto, in my opinion, was the scene with Mr. Silky String. And he's played with absolute demonic, let's just say demonic excellence by Brian Ferry. I was really, the ligature marks left behind by that encounter really kind of jolted me. So, but Kitten's story is something really, the critics, what really kind of made me cackle, the critics didn't really, I heard, these silly news reports, especially this one interview where Cillian was being interviewed. Well, the critics aren't really thrilled about it, but they love your performance. He is the fucking movie, lady. So, as far as I'm concerned, the movie works because of Cillian's performance. Yes, Brendan Gleeson, Liam Neeson, Ruth Negga, Lawrence Kinlan, Seamus Riley, Brian Ferry. I mean, all of them. Everybody in the cast, but mainly, if you don't have the right guy, Gavin Friday, of course. You know, if you don't have the right people playing, or if you don't have the right actor playing Kitten, and Cillian Murphy begged Neil Jordan, please, let's do this movie, because after a few years, I'm not going to look the part anymore. I'm going to be, you know, it's a part meant for a late teen to early, maybe to early to mid 20. I can't do this once I turn 35 or so. So let's do this quick. If you want to do it at all, let's do it. And it's such a great book, which I disagree. I didn't like the book at all. I didn't like it was it was Patrick Pussy Braden, and I hated that. I like Kitten so much better. But it's such a charming movie. It's so always moving along. There's never, you know, it never stops and sits in one spot for very long and gets boring. It's always on the move. It's always full of colorful characters. You don't see a lot of them for very long, but they all make an impact. But mainly it's Kitten who impacts them, not the other way around. They make an impact on you, but mainly Kitten is the one who makes the impact on them. But yes, I don't want to say any more. Once Kitten goes to London, I just kind of want to leave it to you guys to watch it, and because it is so. She goes through so many changes, and she meets so many interesting people, and so many pivotal things happen with her, and with Erwin and Charlie, and just all kinds of stuff. Really, really dangerous things happen. Really tragic things happen, but also happy things. So, and she goes there looking for answers, and she does find some answers. They're just not the answers she expected. So, anyway, this movie, ever since I first saw it in 2010, has always been a 10 out of 10 star movie for me. So, that's the way it stands. That's the way it'll always stand. I love this movie very much, and I hope I never ever get tired of it. I probably won't, as long as I watch it maybe once or twice a year. But this is going to be hopefully the first out of many, many LGBTQIA movies this month, since I didn't get to do any in June. Alright, that's all for now, folks.